We are live at Accountex on day 2, and because we're live, we have no idea what's going to happen. So if someone comes in, gives us a hug, our apologies, we will just keep going no matter what.
That might be wishful thinking.
Well, I'm hopeful for a hug at some point. It's going to be a busy day. We're joined here by Billy McLaughlin from 2020, and we'll be diving into the last article in our newsletter, which was about the rise of AI agents in accountancy. So before we dive into, I guess, or delve into the impact this will have on the accounting profession, Billy, can you talk a little bit about what is an AI agent?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something that we're hearing a lot of, but not a lot of people are really defining well. And in simple terms, it is almost like essentially a digital employee that can go and do tasks for you. Now, the difference between that and kind of an automation workflow, which you might already have in your practice or that you already use in your business, is to think of it in two parts. So the term react. So one is that it can reason, so it can go away and think about a task and think, right, what's the best way to approach this? And the second is that it then goes away and acts on that reasoning, so it can go and do it independently.
Yeah, and how I like to think of this is that we've had RPA for ages now. It's kind of become dead, but that was where you can go across any system and you pre-program it and it does tasks for you. It's not, I guess, set as we've got with a lot of AI helpers. I can't remember what they call them, like Copilot, for example, where it's in one system. This goes across pretty much your entire architecture, but has the intelligence now that we're kind of seeing with the likes of Copilot. Is that a good summary, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And because of the reasoning aspect, and this is probably why they're getting more popular because now these AI models can reason, is that it could detect, so Copilot, obviously with Microsoft, if you asked it to do something, it would be able to reason with itself and say, okay, they've connected me with Microsoft. So when I'm going to populate a spreadsheet, I'm going to use Excel as opposed to Google Sheets. And it's just that thinking that you don't need to do as a human because the agent can now do it for you.
Yeah, it's logical. That's the bit I like to think is now logical, and because so much in accounting is based on pretty simple logic and pretty simple but repetitive tasks using experience. So let's take period end as an example, right? And we want to identify what the PAYE balance is. What we're doing is going into our finance system. We're looking at what the carry forward balance is, looking at what the last payroll report was. Going, does it match? It doesn't match. Okay, now what do I do? What's the next steps? And from what I understand with AI agents, essentially it can repeat exactly that process.
Yeah, and I think the reason why it's quite muddy is because people think, well, if the balances match, it will then move to the next step. If it doesn't, then it won't. And is that not what we've already got with automation? But with automation and RPA, it's more of a decision tree. So we've programmed it of if that doesn't work, then do that, or if that does work, then do this as the next step. Whereas what will happen with the agents is it will be like, right, that doesn't match. This might be why. Now let me go and check and see if the final EPS is being submitted, for example, on a payroll, and if not, then maybe that journal's not being posted, and kind of reason and use that logic, like you say, to go and do the next task. And I don't know if you've heard a long time ago there was a book I think written about like a machine that was programmed to create a paperclip, and it like destroyed the world to make this paperclip because it just kept going and going and going until it could physically do it.
Yeah.
And essentially that's what an agent is. I mean, hopefully it's not going to get as sadistic as that or
Well, I hope not.
scary.
I mean, the beauty with, I guess, AI agents, you can set parameters, you can set boundaries. So
Yes,
you say,
you can.
we're happy for you to do this, but only in kind of this area, or if you get to kind of, say you've taken 5 minutes, you're trying to find a solution, just provide it in whatever that case is, rather than carry on and carry on and carry on. So we can still control it to some extent. We're not just letting it run wild, which I guess is where there's some fear around what AI agents can do. But the disruption that this could cause, because it's taking logic, it's taking the boundaries and the understanding we've got, plus the speed it can do things compared to a human, means that over time, it can replace so much of what we do in accounting. I assume that's where we can end up here.
Yeah, so the statistic at the moment is around 50% intelligence growth every 6 months. So every 6 months, we've seen these tools get 50% better, which as humans we could never rival that. And in terms of, I always like to think about like the talent that's going to come through into the profession, and I try and think back to, right, okay, if I was 17 looking at apprenticeship, would I be looking at accountancy when the press is saying it's going to get replaced? With agents, what we're going to see is, so Dubai and China specifically have said that all children from the age of 5 are going to learn AI. we're going to see something similar over in the UK, probably not too far in the future. So when it comes to recruiting talent, are we going to recruit somebody who is an accountant and knows what they're doing and wants to get into the apprenticeship, or are we going to recruit somebody who essentially comes with a pre-built team? Because if they can genuinely use AI agents, they're going to come with a whole raft of extra productivity that's going to set them apart from the other people that we're potentially going to employ. And that's where it's going to be a huge disruptor.
Yeah, and I think if you compare this to those when we've been recruiting people into the accounting industry for a while, like they have to be, tech literate. They have to understand technology because nowadays you can't get away with just understanding accounting, right?
Yeah.
You have to know how to utilize the tools. I think where, as you say, we'll move into is you'll have to understand how to interact with AI, build your own toolkit, your own helpers, as such, and we'll need a way of validating the quality of those helpers and how they could, I guess, move the firm forward. If firms exist, and that's the other topic I want to get into, is that we've always, as accountancy firms, retained our expertise based on knowledge of people. But if we're now, is moving to the world of tech, of AI agents are going to be doing a lot of this work, then we're at risk of the software vendors, the people here around us where we are right now, just replacing us, surely.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things. If I was a software vendor, I would also be quite concerned at how easy it is now for accountants to build their own products, apps, even just little tiny workarounds. So building a Chrome extension, for example, using really easy to build products. So there's some on the market like Cursor and Replica and things like that, and they're really good. And then you've also got there's a product called NAN, which is to build your own agent. So if you can build something like that, then why pester your vendor for an extra feature when actually you could just have somebody in your team? I was speaking to someone the other day, and they built something in a couple of hours, just try it out, and it worked. So I think there's that element of, from the vendor's point of view, where that must be quite frightening. From the accountant's point of view, there's two aspects. There's the knowledge on AI, and yes, as I just said, there's the talent that needs to come through that know how to use these agents, and they're going to come with a pre-built team. But similarly, there's going to be a huge demand for people that have got soft skills, because, and I would say that's probably, I'd argue it's probably just as important, because if we've got this back end that's doing it for us, the things that the clients value in terms of using us for that empathetic and understanding point of view, and also experience, I think that's why succession is so difficult, because people respect the partners and the experience that they've had over 40 years in practice and dealing with clients. That aspect is going to be really, really valuable, because it's going to be quite hard to come by.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a key part, and as you say, a big challenge of becoming a partner is that business owners want to talk to other business owners that have been through it. And that's essentially what a partner is. They're running a business, they understand the pain. And when you're not a partner, you're not subjected to that or exposed to that, trying to build that relationship where a client may say, I'm really struggling, I'm scared about losing my house. I'm not being in that situation. I pay the salary. I'm comfortable from that aspect. So yeah, trying to build that relationship is challenging, and I completely agree with you on that. That part I can see actually expanding, and a better business and accountant relationship growing. Because essentially in the past, banks used to do a lot of that, and we've kind of stepped in, stepped away, and I think we'll just continue to grow that personally. But I think, touching on that the vendors are scared, accountants are scared. We could be disrupted by something completely different. Just people that have never been in the space whatsoever.
Yeah.
And the whole, I guess, thing with AI is that I'm already sold. I wasn't sold on compliance is dead. I'm sold on compliance will be replaced by AI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. And also, because the tools are accessible to us as accountants, they're also accessible to our clients. So there's a few things that I see, and one of the major ones is this guilt of using AI. So accountants think, well, if I'm going to use it, my clients won't value me as much. But actually, my opinion on that is that it's on the flip side. And a little bit like the whole terminology that came out of cloud accounting and how you can be more efficient, it's going to be the same with the inception of agents. And if you're not using them, clients will think, well, I'm paying them for something that they could do a lot quicker, and therefore my fees are increased because they're not very technologically advanced.
Yeah, and the other bit we're already experiencing in the accounting profession, and if you're watching this, you may have had this before, is that accountants are coming in and going, I've used AI to research this, and this is the answer they've given. Is this correct? And like they expect an immediate answer because they think you'll know this. But you know, we still have to validate to some extent ourselves, and we may be using AI to also help with the research, but using our experience to vet: is it giving us a ghost answer? Is it giving us an answer that isn't correct here? Because that's prevalent with AI responses. So what I think we're going to end up moving more and more towards is not compliance but assurance, like giving positive or reaffirmation, affirmation, whatever the word is.
Reaffirming?
Yeah, so
We'll go
reaffirmation,
with
I think so. To our clients on that what they have looked into and what they're doing is correct or needs to be tweaked. Do you think that will expand more and more?
Yeah, and I actually think it's going to be something that we need to prepare for before it happens massively, because with the inception now of deep research, and again, when we look at AI agents, the only reason they can do what they can do is because they can reason. Deep research, it's great because you can ask it a question and it will come back with 4 or 5 questions for you before it goes into the research. So you can see it's using that logic. Now, the problem we're going to have is we're going to have clients bringing in 10-page dissertations that have been created by ChatGPT about why they can claim dog food for their Yorkshire Terrier because it's a security dog. And essentially, we're going to have to mark these papers and explain to clients why they're not right. Whereas previously, it was a flippant comment from Dave down the pub. And I've heard a lot of people say this is the new Dave down the pub, but it's not just a flippant comment anymore. It's now a 10-page booklet that you are going to have to manage that expectation with clients.
It's Dave with a PhD down the pub, really, in the area we work in. So yeah, it's become a completely different challenge. I mean, we're going to have to work differently. There's no doubt about that. But the one thing I think we need to be realistic on is that it's not here yet. There's a lot of talk about it's coming, and you know, AI agents do exist. They are having an impact in many areas of the world in different industries, but we're not really seeing an impact here. Going around, there's a lot of people saying we use AI, but the actual impact, positive impact that's having for accountants is very minimal. There's some terrible co-pilots or assistants out there that we've been talking about on the stands. I'm not sure I'll talk about live on our broadcast, but how close do you think this is, Billy? Like, how close do you think we're gonna? Like, is it going to be this year we're going to start seeing AI agents accounting? Do you think next year? Do you think it'll be 5 years?
So I do think we're going to see some of the really forward progressive accountants looking at it this year. And the reason why is that we can now see it in models that we already use. So Microsoft, for example, to me there's 3 layers in terms of how technologically advanced you are. So you've got Microsoft, which has a platform within their 365 Copilot Studio where you can create your own agent through drop-down menus. So it's really nice, simple. You're already using Microsoft. It's that warm, cuddly space, and you can maybe use it to reason through your emails, for example, and kind of get a feel for it. Then you move up to sort of OpenAI, ChatGPT using Operator at $200 a month. For people, I think that the price point's still a blocker, and are people going to really go and do that and use the open web where their information isn't ring fenced? That's going to be the danger. And then the kind of really complex, the N8N, so that's the letter, the number, and the letter N8N. That product is for those that are like really techy, really into it, and they want to give it a go. And that's going to be, you're going to be able to create a lot more with it. So I do think that first foundation level of sort of using Microsoft for it is going to creep in slightly over the next sort of 12 months. However, I'm going to go really back to basics. There are so many accountants that don't have bank feeds switched on. And the analogy I always use is please stop shopping for roof tiles if you don't have the foundations of your house built yet, because you cannot get the most out of AI if your systems are not in place, if your data isn't organized, if it's not up to date. A lot of these products are fantastic and they can sell you the dream, but that works on a perfect data set. So actually, for me, as soon as we get that perfect data set and we get the information in real time, and MTD should help with that, then we can start looking at how we can use agents to help us.
Completely agree. What I call it is becoming AI ready, and that's what we should be focusing on now. And you could say, well, I don't really need to. I've still got my client bank, and that really, that could work for you if you do not care about the future of your firm, you do not care about the future of your team, or you just plan to sell to a VC-backed business, right? Because they will then bring in those changes. You don't need to worry about it. And none of that is I'm saying it's a bad thing, but you should be at least open. And if you are a more junior member in a council firm, you need to be talking to your bosses and going, what is your plan on this? Because this is definitely going to impact my career. And don't be, as we normally are when we're not a senior member of the council firm, don't just be a passenger. Start trying to navigate and drive what's happening in your business, because the people that will be impacted are those that are in a firm, because as you say, partners still have that interpersonal relationship that will continue. If you're doing a more mechanical process, you're doing period end, you're doing VAT advice, and there's a tool can come in and do that for you, well, you need to be skilling up now and at least have the facilities around you and the firm to be ready, so that you're not going to be left behind.
Yeah, and it does come from the top down as well. So we see some of the huge organisations saying, so like Duolingo and Spotify are two of the first ones that have come out with this, and they've got this new AI policy that says before you say you need new team members, you have to prove why AI and essentially AI agents cannot do that task for you. And it's really interesting because what I was speaking to someone recently, and what they said was they wanted something to, like an automation task within the practice, and they wanted an AI agent to go out and do it because they needed a bit of extra sort of logic behind it. And they opened it up to the firm, which normally they would probably only pass down to the level below partner. And they said, does anybody want to have a go? And the 18-year-old in the business really took it. They ran with it. They did a great job. And I think this is where we're going to see a big change, is that actually the hierarchy structure that we see within a practice it's one thing when it comes to technical developments, and that's why 2020 we do a lot of technical CPD, but it's why we've also now sort of digressed into technological CPD, because that is also just as important to be a effective, forward-thinking, progressive firm. So that hierarchy structure that comes with the technical team can be completely flipped on its head when it comes to technological, and people can surpass people because of that knowledge.
Completely agree, and this is happening in the IT industry at the moment, because more junior members that are more AI literate, they're as we get older, we're not as good at trying new things. I can admit to that, but they dabble, they learn, and they are providing quicker and more accurate responses than the next level above them. So that kind of middle tier is being eroded, and the junior members are going straight up to have the more senior members reviewing, checking their work, and it's going out. I think we're going to definitely see that in the accounting industry, and what that does, like, we're going to go through a phase of disruption, huge disruption, and disruption enables a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
So if you are ready, if you are, as a more junior member of the team, already spending your own time looking into this, you will come out on top.
Yeah, you'll go far. You'll definitely go far. And also, if there are then blockers that are preventing you from potentially progressing with a model that you're creating or something, then speak to the partners and say, right, we need to now start changing this element of the practice. We need to start collecting data in monthly as opposed to quarterly, or whatever it is that you feel could help with the AI kind of technology that you're trying to work with. Have those conversations with the partners. And I think, those are the people that are going to really succeed.
Agreed. But there's always these things that can make progress slow down. And we're seeing it in the general conversations about AI, is how resource hungry it is from an electricity and water perspective. And, as a potential, it can grow massively. But realistically rolling out, there's going to be things that prevent it going at the speed it could do. One is, I'm not sure the national grid is ready for it, especially in the UK. Two is, I'm not sure that accountants are ready for it, and I think we're going to be dragging our heels. Think about cloud. Cloud is much easier, in my opinion, than doing AI, and still, as you said earlier, that there's a very low adoption of utilising cloud. And that's not just like clients on it. A lot of firms move their clients into cloud, but are then using archaic internal systems. So trying to, I guess, get yourself ready is critical, but it's not like you have to do it right now. You will not be left behind if it takes you 2, 3, 4 years to get there. But you also want the cutting edge. And how do you want to differentiate? Do you want to be market leading, or are you happy just kind of following along? That's something that I think you need to make a decision pretty much now.
I think your terminology of getting AI ready is, I feel like that is actually the strap line to AI, in my opinion. The amount of people that say to me, Billy, can you help me with an AI tool in audit? And it's completely the wrong perception. It should be, what is the issue I'm facing? What is my problem? And now how do I fix it? Because it might just be automation. It might just be robot process automation that you need. But because AI has become this buzzword, and this will slow down accountants adoption because they think they need it, they don't need it, they struggle, and actually something much more simple could have been put in place. And also, just to go back to your point about the electricity and the use cases, I feel like yes, the media is also going to hinder this progression because the media love to tell you all the bad things. And I was chatting to someone yesterday, and I said they don't really talk about it as much in the food industry or the clothing industry, but when it comes to AI, because that's a hype, they're jumping on it. But what we are seeing already, so Google is one of them. Ryan nearly got hugged them, by the way, guys.
I was going to get
batted
one.
them away.
Now I regret my decision. I always got the hug.
But what we're seeing now is Google, for example, have launched more basic AI models that use less power, electricity, water, whatever it is. I mean, just the water is getting recycled through, so it's kind of getting.
I mean, it never goes anywhere, right? Yeah.
But what we're finding is Google have, for example, have done a smaller model, so that if you've got a more simple question, you can use that model and then not use as much power. And we've seen Sam Altman say, please don't say please and thank you anymore because that's using tokens. I don't know if that's a trick for when they come after us all, but I will still be polite to it.
Yeah, exactly. It feels rude not to.
Yeah.
Especially from in Britain, we're very
Yes.
very polite, and we will ask in a very elaborate way just to make sure we can't offend the AI in any way. But yeah, being AI ready is critical, but don't panic on this. We were having a conversation in one of the talks on a stage actually right next to us yesterday, and it was about what do we want as accountants? Like, we are so used to there being a problem, and we just go to a software vendor and go, solve the problem I've got. I don't want to do this. I don't have the time to do this. I want you to solve it for me. But what you were saying is that actually, a lot of the time now, we need to be considering how we solve it and use an AI agent to do it, not rely on the tech vendors. And that flips things completely on their head. And what I think that drives us towards more is that we need to be carving out a digital element of our firm that not only is looking at our own internal systems, our client systems, but also how do we utilize AI to solve problems. So we're logical, we're really good at problem solving. That is what makes us great as accountants, but we don't do it enough on our own problems. And I think that's something that we also need to change the internal culture of firms about. I don't know if you can hear the background music now, but it seems like there's like a party going on next to us.
So Ryan's also going to do an expressive dance.
Maybe. Yeah, the rest of this will be an interpretive dance. But yeah, do you agree that actually there needs to be a culture shift in firms? We've become so lean in just there's no time to do anything else. We just need to deliver work, because I guess we have not been charging, I guess, enough to our clients because they're not valuing us for service. That we need to try and create some capacity, and the only way to do that is to bring in efficiencies by utilising technology.
Yeah, and this is again, it's something where I know something said about banking earlier, but it's exactly the same where if you're still charging by the hour, you're going to penalise yourself for being more digitally advanced because you're going to save time and then your turnover is going to go down. This is something that was recognised quite a long time ago by some practices. And again, not feeling guilty for using these technology because it actually means that you can provide a better service and charge more. I was speaking to someone who said if we were to order a bottle of water from New York, we wanted it tomorrow, we'd pay 10 times the price and ship it. Well, why do we not have that same mindset as accountants of actually we're going to deliver this quickly because we're very, very good at our job and it's taken us 20 years of experience to get this good at our job, so we can charge a premium for it. We need to have that confidence. I think that's something that our industry really lacks, is confidence of how great we are. And one of the tip I would just say is, like, collaboration is more important than ever. And I feel really lucky to be in industry now because I would say 10 years ago the collaboration was you wouldn't want to see your competitors, you wouldn't want to have conversations with them. And having groups where you can speak to other accountants, because as Ryan said, it's great to segment your teams, but if you're maybe a sole trader or you've just got one or two team members, the time to go and investigate these things is impossible. So go and crowdsource, go and speak to other accountants, see what they're doing. And when I was in practice, I used to speak to other practices, and it was so helpful. And I think that's a really growing aspect of our industry, and it's a really unique thing to accountants and bookkeepers, and we should really take hold of that.
Completely agree. Collaboration is now a must
Yeah.
in our space. And it's not just about finding solutions, it sometimes just grounds you because you'll be like, oh, I'm so far behind. And you go to talk to some other practices, like, oh, actually, no, I'm about the same where everyone else is.
Yeah.
Because you go to these conferences and it's all about you need to be doing something. Yeah, they're silly, right? But education is critical. So, yeah, if you're not in a community, make sure you're in a community. If you've not started to explore AI, or at least be aware of it, listening to shows, talk about it, such as yourself, Billy, on that every Friday.
Every Friday on
Friday
LinkedIn.
AI. Yeah, so as a minimum, follow Billy, listen to Friday AI. Just making yourself aware, building a little bit of, I guess, capacity in your firm. It doesn't need to be much, but a little bit of capacity to start having a look at some of this. And going back to it, make yourself AI ready. Make your firm digital. Make sure you've got the right systems in place. We've gone through the phase, and we're still doing it with MTD, of making sure our client systems are there so that we can help them with compliance, make sure that they are in a good place. We do need to look inwards. We started doing that in the profession, talk to people, make sure that you are comfortable in where you need to go and what you need to do. Have you got any final takeaways, Billy, on what people should be thinking about? Because, in my opinion, it is coming. I don't think there's any denying that, or anyone that I come across that says, no, it's not going to happen. I think there's a lot of dispute about when it's going to happen, but we still need to start preparing. Is there any, I guess, tips that you've got for any more?
Yeah, so the only thing is, I guess, echoing a lot of what you've just said, but make sure your entire team have access to these tools. Allow them to explore, allow them that interest, and listen to them when they come back to you and say they've got some ideas. Also, building habits within the practice, whether that's within your clients or your team or both, to make sure you've got the information in the right places so that when this technology does come, or when you're ready to utilize it, then at that point you've got the ability to send those AI tools, those AI agents to the correct places in your practice to fetch that data down. So building habits, getting ready, and allowing the whole team the access to explore, and hopefully we'll be here in a couple of years all robots.
Well, look, you seem to get a round of applause for
Yeah,
that, I believe. I think that was for us. But look, if you're watching this now, you're watching it live, and you want to learn a bit more, then please do come speak to us. The 2020 stand is pretty much at the front as you come into Accountex, and the automation station here is in the back right. Look, we're always open for a conversation, even if it's just tell us where you are, what the problems are. We can help guide you to some of the vendors here that will be able to help you on that journey of becoming AI ready. And if you're just trying to find people to have a conversation with, to navigate you to the best the places to get resources, just send us a message on LinkedIn. We're very friendly. Trust us, we're not robots.
Thank you.
That's right. Thank you for tuning in, and tune in every week to find out more on the ever-changing world of accounting tech in the UK.